Welcome back to the Malted Man Cave. Tonight, I'm going to be reviewing one of the richest, most delicious sherry bombs that I've ever had. Coming up. Alright, so tonight we are going to be doing this amazing sample that Travis Faircloth, one of my subscribers and a friend, so generously gifted me. And it is Glendronach 1993 single cask. And it is part of abbywhisky.com. They kind of did a 10th anniversary for their website where they picked, you know, some of those amazing single casks that Glendronach has stashed away. It says it was distilled on 3/19/1993. It was bottled in 2007. It was matured in 100% sherry. Well, it's one cask, so it was a sherry butt. It was aged for 24 years. The cask number was 652. Bottle number is 504-544 for those of you whiskey geeks that like to know as much detail as possible. It's non-colored, non-chill filtered, and it comes in at a whopping 60.6% ABV, which is very high for a 24-year aged whiskey. Wow, that had to have gone there pretty hot when they filled the cask. Because I think most of you guys know, whiskey, the ABV loses about 1 to 2%, typically 1.5% of the ABV every year to the angel share. So that went in that cask hot, a lot higher than most whiskeys. The ABV strength goes into the cask. So thank you, Travis. You are a gentleman and a scholar. This was so good, and I am very glad that I got to taste this. For those of you who watch my channel, I don't do a whole lot of samples, and I always kind of want to typically always get full bottles and really experience it before I review it. But sometimes whiskey ain't cheap. And when I can get a hold of a sample like this, it's nice every once in a while to supplement, because I'm not a billionaire or a millionaire, and I fully support this myself. So yeah, it's nice to occasionally do some samples. So tonight we're going to be doing a sample, like I said, of the Glendronach 1993 single cask. So a little bit about Glendronach. A lot of you guys know Glendronach is just known for being this amazing Speyside distillery that has just some amazing sherry bombs. And I think they've always had a pretty good reputation, but it wasn't really until, like, you know, I guess in the 90s, aside from when the mothballing period, but especially like in 2004 to, you know, to the present, they are just came out of nowhere, and just like people are like, holy crap, this juice is good. So from 1996 to 2002, you know, Glendronach was mothballed, where they kept the casks lying as they were in the rack houses and the dunnage warehouses. They had a bare-bone crew and security just to watch over it, but they ceased production. So for whatever reason, I guess business was good again, or they thought there was more of a demand for it again. In 2002, they reopened and they started producing whiskey. In 2005, Pernod Ricard and Chivas Brothers, however you pronounce that, they kind of, as a larger corporation, absorbed and acquired Glendronach into their portfolio. But it didn't really start, you know, hitting the ground running until Billy Walker and Partners acquired and bought Glendronach in 2008. Billy Walker and Partners, they owned at that time Ben Riach and Glenlassaugh, however I used to know how to pronounce that. So after Billy Walker and Sons acquired it, part of the sale was they got 9,000 of these just amazing casks that had just been aged for a really long period of time. During the, you know, they started way back in the early 90s, late 80s, and then they just lied there, just maturing and getting all that amazing goodness from the cask from 1996 to 2002. So in 2008, Billy Walker and Sons had a decision to make. They could have just bottled all these amazing older whiskeys, and they could have just priced us completely out, and 95% of us could not have afforded it. But they decided that they were going to keep the core range and just put older whiskey in. So thus, the Glendronach that we all know and love now was born, and this mystique of these amazing, amazing sherry bombs with this really rich character was born with this mystique of the fact that it actually has older whiskey than what is in the label. So another fun fact about Glendronach is that in 2005, I believe they were one of the last, if not the last, distillery to coal-fire their stills. So in 2005 they switched and they shut down for a while, and they switched from being coal-fired to being, you know, internal steam heating. So after that, I think it was in, I don't know if it was, I think it was rather recently, Brown-Forman has acquired them, and many of us are kind of waiting patiently to see how they're going to do under the new ownership. So we're all, I guess, hoping and praying and keeping our fingers crossed that they're not going to screw up the good thing that has been going on at Glendronach. So I guess only time will tell. So, without further ado, let's get into this amazing whiskey. Oh my gosh. This is like the Glendronach 15. Now, it's a little bit different, but very, very similar. It's like the Glendronach 15 on steroids. So good. It's just one of the richest sherry bomb noses that I've ever smelled. Again, I get a lot of times with Glendronach, the very first nose is like when it's like I'm sticking my nose into a tin can of chocolate Nesquik. Oh my goodness, it's so good. It's like almost like you're smelling rich and refined, like expensive, not just, you know, regular cheap candy, like expensive milk chocolate covered raisins. I get a little bit of Malibu pineapple rum. And there's a candy in the States, I'm not sure if they have it other places, it's like these chocolate caramels called Reisens that I always ask for Christmas in my stocking for my wife. They're one of my favorite candies, and I smell that in here. Like there is literally like 7 different types of chocolate notes that I get in this. This is almost on par with like the Glenmorangie Signet as far as how much chocolate is in here. Get a little bit of floral notes. I get peanuts, slight menthol, just like an amazing rich earthy oakiness that I believe is from the dunnage warehouses. Although I guess it could have been in one of the rack houses, since there's 3 dunnage and 3 rack that I know of, if my research I did was correct. It just smells dunnage to me. And lastly on the nose, I get this amazing, amazing Coco Lopez note that I literally have, I think, stated that I got on every Glendronach whiskey that I've ever reviewed. And Coco Lopez, if you don't know, is this creamy coconut liquid that they put a lot in mixed drinks. Like if you go to the Caribbean on a cruise, or you know, it's just kind of often on cruises or in the Caribbean or like in the summertime, it's like this mixed drink additive that gives it this like creamy coconut to go along with a lot of like the fruity drinks and all like the fruity ingredients that they add. It is amazing. All right, on to the palate. Oh my goodness. Chocolate orange candies. Again, chocolate caramels. This time I get a little bit of maraschino cherries on the palate. Peanuts, almonds, toffee, some really well done, well balanced drying oak. It's not too oaked. It's like it's at the perfect amount. Then I get almost like this, and it sounds unpleasant, but it's actually pretty good. Slightly mentholic cough syrup, just kind of lurking there in the background of the palate. And then lastly, you just get that amazing creamy Coco Lopez and kind of just coconuts in the background. Just, wow, it's one of the richest sherry bombs I have ever had. Thank you, Travis. Thank you so much for allowing me a chance to get to try this. So on to the finish. it just stays. And it stays. And it stays. And it stays with all just like those 8 little, literally the 8 different types of chocolate goodness. Kind of caramels, the maraschino cherry. Towards the end of this, I would say long finish. Very long finish. You get a little bit of the maraschino cherries, peanuts, almost like Snicker bars, and then it kind of goes, there's a little bit of menthol, and then a little bit kind of ending with drying oak and toffee. Fantastic stuff. I'm very, very happy that I got to try this. I probably will never get a bottle because they're pretty expensive. I better not say never. But now that I've reviewed it, you know, this is really good though. If I can find this for a good price, I'm gonna try and buy this for sure. Or maybe I'll try and get Travis to send me some more. So, Malted Man Cave Mark out of 100. 95 out of 100. Hoagie Bear is gonna bust my balls because it's a really high score. But if I would have reviewed this like 2 years ago, this probably would have been like a 98. But obviously I've enjoyed and got to experience, you know, better whiskey since then. So, but 95 out of 100, guys, it's that good. Go out and get you some if you can. Real quick before I sign off, I want to give a shout out. I meant to do this in one of my bourbon reviews, but every once in a while when I kind of make new friends, kind of in this whole whiskyfabric, whiskytube community that we have, I'd like to give a shout out, and a gentleman by the name of Scott, and he has a channel called My Bourbon Journey. Now he mostly does, obviously, as the title suggests, mostly bourbon. I think he's done all bourbon. You know, some of us other channels, Scotch guys, are trying to get him to try some other stuff, but he does amazing reviews. He's a great guy. He's growing really fast. I think he's past me now. Go check him out if you aren't already subscribed to him. He's a great guy, great channel. So without further ado, I want to say you guys thanks as always for spending time and watching. Like, subscribe, go out and get you some of this if you can find it. Let's launch it.